Section E, the right to receive a contract with fair terms and to give informed consent. Looks simple, but most people, you may have heard stories of people going to work elsewhere and they go there, they get their contracts when they are leaving, when they are on the plane, they don't have time to read it. I would advise that you don't get involved in that kind of thing. So foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to a legal employment contract that respects their rights and the rights to give informed consent before being hired. Certified employers and recruiters shall make reasonable efforts to ensure that the contract terms, including key provisions such as term, pay, overtime, location, assignment, duration, and confidentiality, are fully explained and understood by the foreign educated health professionals. Ensure that the health professional understand which work hours count towards completion of the contract. All of them for them. Inform the RNs that they are free to consult with any attorney about any and all contractual terms before signing. Narrowly tailor confidential clauses to ensure they do not prohibit or inhibit the nurse at any time before or after arriving in the U.S. from seeking counsel after a contract from an attorney, bargaining or local labor representative. Seeking counsel shall not be construed as breach of the contract. No, you're free. Provide a copy of the fully executed employment contract to the foreign educated nurse. Their records. Provide a clear explanation of any contract changes and secure written consent whenever modifying an executed contract. When contract changes are required to accommodate and reflect changes in relevant laws and regulations, a full explanation of the changes must be provided in writing to the foreign educated health professional. Secure written consent from the foreign educated health professional to sell or transfer their contract to another agency or employer, either in the language of original contract or prior to. This is where we are very strong. We are saying upfront, we are getting into contact with you, we are training you, taking you through Northcoast, and then taking you off South Africa, take exam. After you take exam is when you actually become valuable, you can be placed. At that time, we may be able to place you at a facility. But before you take the exam, we cannot place you at the facility. We cannot give you what facility is going to hire you. So that's it. We are not a staffing agency who hire people and put them on their payroll. We are a placement agency. You are working with us to place you. We are your agent. And you pay us for those services. You actually pay us even for Northcoast, because Northcoast provides a service to us. So we need the nurses. They have to go through Northcoast. They have to go to South Africa or some other country to take the exam, and then they are available now for placement. Charge no fee for recruitment process. We do not charge a fee for recruitment. We do charge a fee for services like this training. Like we do not charge for recruitment services. We are paid by the facilities for placing nurses with them. So we don't charge for recruitment. Clearly specify in a foreign educated health professional contract the financial responsibilities of all parties of foreign educated health professionals, recruiters, employers, in good old transportation costs from departure location to the U.S. and to specific assignment, housing, lodging, meals, other related services. That's where a placement agency is better than a staffing agency, because a placement agency gets involved in this for you. as your agent. Staffing agency, when they come stateside, they become just an employer like another. They want you to go to work. They don't want to know where you slept yesterday. Okay, let's stop at F, take a break, and we'll come back and continue from there. Welcome back. We are on section F of the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices Health Code. Section F is the right to move freely without coercion. Foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to move freely and change employers while working in the United States without coercion. In addition to complying with all applicable U.S. labor laws and certified employer recruitment employer laws, certified employers and recruiters acknowledge that employers and recruiters shall permit the termination of contracts by foreign educated health professionals if deployment is delayed for more than 3 years from contract execution, and the foreign educated health professional reimburses the recruiter and employer for all direct recruitment costs. I'll have to pause here and notice that direct recruitment costs are due. Those are funds applied towards the conversion of the foreign educated health professionals license from their home country license to their American license. That involves all the money that may have been spent on recruitment, on preparation for NCLEX, on taking the NCLEX, on relocation, on visa. Those are our direct costs that any person wishing to relocate must pay. If the applicant paid for themselves, then they have nothing to pay. If they didn't pay and somebody else paid, either the recruiter or the employer paid, then that money is due. Breach fees, also referred to as damages, shall never be used for punitive purposes. In the contract, there is always a breach fee, meaning a fee that you pay if you should breach the contract. It's already written in there. It's something that you should read. When you are reading the contract, you should read to see how much money has been put there as breach fee. Recruiters and employers' pursuit of breach fees shall rely upon good faith and reasonableness in the limited circumstances where they are appropriate and must be prorated. I read that again clearly. Breach fees, also referred damages, shall never be used for punitive purposes. Recruiters and employers' pursuit of breach fees should rely upon good faith and reasonableness in the limited circumstances where they are appropriate and must be prorated. Meaning, if the breach fee say that if you breach this contract, 3-year contract, you'll pay $30,000. If you work for 1 year, that breach fee is prorated over the time of the contract. Meaning, if you have worked for 1 year and the breach fee was $30,000, then the breach fee automatically becomes $20,000. If you have worked for 2 years, the breach fee becomes $10,000. And this is important for you to know, so that when you are negotiating a new job, you should be transparent with your new employer that there will be a breach fee involved. Communication solves a lot of things. If you are under contract, it's always good when you are being interviewed to be able to say, I am under contract for 3 years. I have worked for 2, and there was a breach fee of 30,000. So I think when I leave, if I leave now, they will require me to pay 10,000. And therefore, when you are negotiating your pay, you should ask for a sign-on bonus of 10,000 or more, so that you have that money to be able to pay your breach fee. I am just telling you this because I like you to succeed wherever you go. I like the people, the applicant, foreign educated health professionals recruited by Northcoast, MTC, and African Wood to be successful in whatever endeavor they go. Because at the end of the day, we are providing service to our people, to the clients, to the patients in Kenya, to the nurses, and to the patients in the US. These are all the people we swore to be able to provide a service and do no harm. So we need to be able to tell ourselves the truth. We need to be transparent. We need to be open. When you sign a contract, it means it doesn't mean that you have signed your life away. If you get a better opportunity, you can take it. But you must understand the terms under which you are going to take the new opportunity. And therefore, be able to be open about it, because figure this out. The person who is hiring you today will be in the shoes of the person you are leaving tomorrow. So they are looking at you to see how you treat the person you are leaving, and putting themselves in their shoes 1 or 2 years later and thinking you will leave them in that bind. So you need to be able to leave your current employer in a good standing, so that the new employer can be comfortable that when the time comes for you to leave, you will not leave them in a bind. So telling them up front that you have a breach fee of 10,000, 30,000 is not really harming. If they are not willing to pay your breach fee, maybe they are the wrong employer to go to. It's a red flag for you. So that's all I want to take on that one. In order to resolve issues as expeditiously as possible, employers and recruiters should establish internal administrative processes, employee complaint policy, employee notice procedures to facilitate review of disputes regarding an alleged breach of contract by either party. So that's all right. When you go to, we place applicants directly. It's important for you to read the employee handbook of your new employer. Know the complaint policy, know the employee notice procedures, so that you can remain within those as you work your way in your career. Green cards, passports, certifications, permits, visas, and other official documentation shall not be withheld from the foreign educated health professional during any stage of recruitment or employment for any cohesive purpose. Custody of such a document shall be transferred to the foreign educated health professional as soon as management of the certification and immigration licensing process is reasonable allows. You understand that? These are your documents. You have to have custody of them unless the employer has a legal need for them. So you need to know that you need to be able to keep keep custody. Recruiters and employers shall not threaten or use immigration enforcement mechanism to exercise control over foreign educated health professionals or for punitive purposes. Non-compete clauses shall be reasonable in time and scope, and shall not restrict the ability to earn a living in their occupation. African Wood and African Wood partners will just require the contract hours per week. A week has more hours than 40. What you do with the other hours is your job. We make sure that the employers, the facilities we partner with, do not restrict our foreign educated health professionals in what they do during their private time. Other agencies may have different takes on this, so you better check your contract. Make sure that you are not contracting away all your life in the United States. You are contracting away specific hours of the day. That's important. That's why this is important, because non-compete clauses might say you shall not work for another hospital while you work for us. That's horrible, because you are a trained nurse, and nurses work in hospitals, and some hospitals will compete with others. So you may, a reasonable non-compete may be if you agree to get into management. Then of course most organizations will not allow their management to work for the competitor. But if you are just a professional working, delivering clinical services, that shouldn't be an issue. But check your contract, make sure our contracts were sure about them. As long as you're doing clinical work, you are allowed to do clinical work. As long as you deliver the 40 hours per week for the facility, you can take overtime from them if you want. You can take another job from elsewhere if you want, as long as you always avail yourself with the hours that are required for your contract. So that's a competitive advantage we have, and you may want to stick with Northcoast MTC and Africanwood Incorporated and our facilities for that reason, because we are comfortable that you will only be required to work the contract hours per week, and what you do with the rest of your hours is your problem. All right. Here we go now. We are on Section G. Right to access justice. Foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to access justice for abuse and discrimination suffered under the U.S. work visa programs. Certified employers and recruiters acknowledge that foreign educated health professionals who believe they have suffered a violation of this code or U.S. law shall not be discriminated against for filing a complaint or taking legal action. Foreign educated health professionals shall have access to justice, which may include mediation, non-jury trials, jury trials, or arbitration if expressly stated and mutually agreed upon. Be wary of contracts that are just given to you and told you to sign for arbitration if you don't agree, and make sure you know who the arbitrator is, who is going to choose them, who is going to pay for them. If an employer tells you that any dispute will be mediated through arbitration, you must make sure that they are not in control of the process. Because if you have a dispute between you and them, and they are in charge of the process, you may not be able to get justice. So if there is an arbitration process, you should be able to choose an arbitrator in a location that is of your choice. So that's another thing that you should be able to look at when you are choosing staffing agencies or placement agencies. Agreements with the foreign educated health profession not include gag orders or confidential clauses that limit foreign educated health profession ability to have the contract reviewed. Don't agree to have non-disclosure agreement and disclosure agreements about your agreement. This is about you. This is what you sell. This is your competency. Nobody should be able to behave like they own you. Okay? Africanwood, we act as your agent. We act as our as our partner's agent too, to make sure that we mediate in between. But we do not allow a facility to act like they own the professionals. never work, it never happen. You can take that to the bank. So we are here to take care of your interests. We make sure that you get paid what you are worth, and you're treated like the person you are. That's a promise that African Wood gives to all these applicants. Agreements shall not in any way seek to preclude the foreign educated health professional access to counsel or the right to seek legal redress for any violation or breaches. If a clause in your contract says you can only go back to employer, no, don't do that. Don't take the first contract you have as if you want any ticket leave Kenya or leave your country, because you may be leaving the frying pan and getting into the fire. Desperation is bad. You cannot negotiate if you just need out. You need to read through. You need to know who you are dealing with. You need to look at the history. You need to know the whole person, because you are putting your faith in this agency or in this employer, and they should be able to consider you as a whole person. They should not treat you as a nurse. You are a family person. You have family. You have a life to lead. And at African Wood Incorporated, we believe that our foreign educated nurses are people with families, with beliefs, with faith, and that they come to work the whole person. We just don't say we need a nurse on the floor, and after that we do not care what happens to them. So here we go. The right to freedom of association and collective bargaining. This is Section H. Foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to form and join unions and to bargain and advocate collectively to promote their rights and interests. You cannot sign on to a contract or a facility that says you can't unionize. Remember, the facility has access to lawyers, to other professionals. They cannot tell you that you have a right to represent yourself, because you can't. They don't. Nobody of them is representing themselves. They are being represented by professionals, by lawyers, by accountants, by administrators. Imagine if you are dealing with an organization that has all these experts behind them, and you are sitting there on the chair alone. Even the capacity to think itself is hard. That's why you need to be able to be free to join a union and to bargain and advocate for yourself. It doesn't matter they're giving you $5 more. If they're giving you $5 more, that means they should have been giving you 20. Why would somebody pay you to isolate you? Think about that. If somebody is paying you to isolate you, that means they're taking advantage of you. So you have a right to the freedom of association and collective bargaining. And the certified employers and recruiters acknowledge that foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to join professional associations and unions. Don't be paid peanuts to be isolated. Like the Africans say, the animal that leaves the herd is always eaten. So if somebody is paying you to leave the herd, they are going to eat you. All right, Section I, the right to receive support for clinical and cultural integration. And this is the strength of African Wood, particularly the cultural integration part. And the clinical integration we start, that's why we have Northcoast MTC taking care of the clinical part, making sure that your clinical knowledge gained and your experience in Kenya is brought to the level that you can be able to practice in the United States and Canada. And then we know that medicine is not delivered in a vacuum. And you have to communicate to your patients. And the patients, the communication between you and the patient is influenced by the culture. If you do not understand their culture, and they don't understand your culture, however good a clinician you may be, that medicine won't work. So, we take it very seriously, the cultural integration part of this process. We have a course that we host at Northcoast MTC for cultural integration for both the professional and their spouses and children. Remember, you're living in a country where the education system is different. You're living in a country where the health system is different. You're living in a country where the culture is different. And you are carrying yourself and your family, bringing them to a culture that is different. If you are not prepared for it, you may fail. Not because you are not a good nurse, but because you can't fit in the culture, or you are not prepared for the cultural shock. So, section I is very important to prepare your spouse that you are the nurse, but they have to start somewhere. They have to start preparing for what they will do. Because if they are an accountant in Kenya or in Ghana or in or other country, or the source country you are coming from, they may not be able to get a job as an accountant here. So they must know what they are going to do. And the inability of your spouse to know that they will change may bring friction in the family that will make you unable to do your job as a nurse. And we get interested in that. We get interested in making sure that your spouse learns and settles and integrates in the society well. We also get interested, if you have children, to make sure that they get into the right schools. Remember, the education system is different. And also how it's structured. Remember, in Kenya, where you live does not matter where your child goes to school. Here, the school system is a feeder system. And where you choose to live determines where your child may go to school. If you choose to go to a place where houses are cheap, that means the tax collection there is low. That means the schools may not have the resources they need to be in good standing. You need that information, and that information is available from us. African Wood Incorporated ensures that you have the information upfront on cultural integration, and then we hold your hand until you settle. You get a house, you get a car. Even before you get a house, remember, when you leave Kenya or you leave Ghana and come to the United States, you will have to get the local documentation. You will have to start from Social Security, you go to your license, you get your house, you get your car, you get your insurance, and those things require somebody to hold your hand. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. You would have a job and a roof under over your head, but then the people you are with aren't settled, or the children aren't going to the right schools or haven't good schools, or you haven't even got a driving license, something like that. So that's the very important thing to consider when you are picking on a staffing or an agent for you in the United States. So here, it says the foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to receive support as they transition to living and working in the United States. Certified employers and recruiters shall make reasonable effort to ensure that the basic needs of foreign educated health professionals, safe and clean housing, access to health care, access to transportation when there is no or adequate public transportation options, are available during an initial transition period as part of the negotiated employment package. Facilitate the successful transition of foreign educated health professionals to the United States and the specific employment location by providing or assisting in the provision of orientation programs that include basic information about living and working in the United States, housing options, banking, post office, local grocery stores, restaurants. These are things that most people, when they're trying to transit to leave their home country to the host country, they don't think about. But these are the things that African thinks about every day and does every day to ensure that you have you have the right housing options, you have your right banking options, you have a place to go post a letter if you still post letters, you know where to buy your food. If you have lived in Kenya continuously or living in Ghana continuously, you will not know that you buy food, you buy only specific foodstuffs from the store, because the store may have all an array of food, but you always buy a basket of food. Now, you need to know where to buy that basket of food. And it might not be in the local grocery store, or it might be in the US. It has got these mass grocery stores, it's got the big retail stores, it's got the ethnic stores. You need to know where to find your food. Because moving from one country to the other, you may find that keeping in touch with your home country food will make the transition easier. And also, we have a challenge with obesity in the United States. If you transition from Kenya to the United States and you get into the fast food, you will find that you put your children in harm's way, because if you don't put your food down and make sure that they are eating right, at the end of the day you will have obesity issues, health issues, things that you are not thinking about now and the things that we think about every day. So stay with Northcoast MTC, stay with African Wood Incorporated. We'll be able to help you through your journey. Encourage and facilitate healthcare institutions, agencies to provide or assist in the provision of clinical orientation to ensure appropriate delivery of care, particularly with regard to discipline or facility-specific clinical practices and procedures that may not be familiar to the foreign educated health professionals. The practice is different. The practice of hospitals or facilities is different. And these clinical practices, you must be oriented to them. The preceptors, Africa would ensure that the facilities we place our nurses as preceptors who have gone through the same process, who understand, who know the little details that may frustrate somebody that may not be known to people who practice clinical and nursing in the United States and have not practiced elsewhere. Provide or assist in the provision of sufficient training of foreign educated health professionals in cultural and linguistic matters relevant to employment location. Yeah, same I told you. The cultural and linguistic matters, I think that you need somebody who has gone through it, who knows, who understands you and understands the perspective. And African Wood understands the African situation, and it understands the American situation. So our presbyters are good. They will guide you in your clinical side, and our trainers in cultural side will guide you and make sure that you become a success. And also, we don't forget your spouses. We don't forget your spouses. We don't forget your children. We've been there, done that. Section J, respect for sending countries. This is important. Certified international recruiters don't break the law. Certified international recruiters do not want to deplete the home country. Certified international recruiters do not want to assist the applicants to evade their responsibilities in their home country. We work with the health authorities in the home country, the training facilities, and the employers to ensure that when you leave, you are leaving them in good standing. Because if the leopard never changes its spot. If you leave your current employer in a jam, you are going to leave us in a jam. So we are not going to start that jam. We want to make sure that you are living well, so that we know that next time when you're leaving us, you will be living well. So keep that in mind. When I ask you how it's going at your workplace, and you tell me it's hard, you are not telling them what to do, you are just telling me when it's my turn, you won't tell me what to do. So, respect for sending countries. The Alliance seeks to uphold an individual's right to migrate and to acknowledge the potential harm that can be caused to sending countries by international recruitment. Employers and recruiters shall abide by all sending countries' laws and regulations related to international recruitment. If a foreign educated health professional is contractually obligated to serve their home country's health system in return for public education or scholarship provided by the home country, respect these obligations and not knowingly enable the foreign health profession to circumvent them without permission from the sending country. Where applicable, require the foreign educated health professional applicant provide evidence that such obligations have been satisfied. All right. You know that we will ask how you went to school, who paid, have you been able to settle with them? That's important to us. Because the same question will occur when we have expanded resources on you and you come here with a contract and you want to leave. So if you are leaving, if you are breaking your first contract of going to school, how are we sure you will not break our contract with us? So always take that into consideration when you are doing something else. The Alliance seeks to promote recruitment that is conducted in a manner that helps to sustain, replenish, or improve the local health services of sending countries. Certified employers and recruiters shall aspire to avoid active recruiting in those countries or areas within countries that are experiencing either a temporary health crisis during which health professionals are in their need or chronic health care professional shortage. Establish a relationship with the Department of Human Services in a local hospital so that the training and departure process have an agreed upon time frame. Remember that. If you are working in Kakamega County Hospital, we'll make sure that when you are leaving, you just don't leave in bad shape. If you are working in Kilifi, you are working at the Aga Khan, we'll make sure that we get in touch with them to tell them that you will be leaving so that they prepare. Just a courtesy. That's what we'll expect somebody to do for us, so we'll do for them. Pursue health facility partnership agreements between schools of nursing and hospitals in the U.S. and source countries and hospitals. That's why we have a partnership with the Northcoast MTC. They are recruiting nurses, they are training nurses, they are graduating nurses, and also they're preparing the same nurses, a few of the same nurses to come to work for us. So we are very sure that the number of nurses coming as a percentage of those who have been trained is little. And we're not taking all of them. Also, we know that when we take the experienced ones, we're creating space for the ones who are behind, who haven't been employed yet. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. Our partnership with Northcoast MTC is actually a result of this clause. that we should seek partnership with the nursing schools in the source countries so that we are guaranteed sure that we are not depleting the supply of health professionals. Much a portion of the remittances sent by recruited foreign educated health professionals and channel the funds too. That's why we're asking you to contribute to us a fund Northcoast MTC is creating so that we can be able to continue. You will realize that the fees that you are paying for training at the MTC relative to the amount of money they were being paid in the US is quite small. So if you commit to take one child to MTC there or contribute to a fund that is educating them, that will be that you join a cohorts that have been doing that, and we really appreciate that. And you will be contributing to your country as a good patriot. Okay. Offer foreign educated health professionals periodic home leave to provide technical assistance to their home communities. This option is especially appropriate where there is a critical lack of health professionals. Yeah, after you come and either on your vacation or between contracts, you can go back and provide services that make sure that the service delivery and service standards is improved just by you going there and working with your former employer will make the people who are working there improve their standard if you can just by the power of example, just doing the right thing. So establish scholarship funds in source country schools. Yeah, we are doing that with Northcoast MTC, and we'll ask you to join us to help those people. All right, we have covered from section A to J. That's been long, and I hope that as we go along, you will be answering questions so that we know that you understand this, and you will be going in this with full knowledge of what you're going to do. The glossary, active recruitment consists of proactive direct solicitation to hire candidates that were not actively seeking a new position. Okay, we do that. That's what we do. Breach of contract. A breach of contract occurs when a party who entered the contract fails to perform the promised obligations. Don't do that. Breach fee, the amount of money a party can recover when one party breaches a contract. The legal term for breach contract is called damages. In international recruitment, this typically refers to the amount of money a recruited foreign educated health professional would pay to the recruitment agency if the foreign educated health professional were to voluntarily leave the contract without cause before the contract period ends. We told you, and that figure will be agreed for in advance, and it's prorated. Damages, the amount of money owed when one party breaches a contract. There are two types of damages. Actual damages, the amount that may be recovered by the non-breaching party directly related to the breaching party, non-performance under the contract. Example of these actual damages, the recruiting would potentially recover in good and reimburse expenses including direct or directly on behalf of incurred directly on behalf of the foreign educated health professional, or penalties required to be paid to health facilities based upon the foreign educated failure to complete the contract. You know, just like we put breach fee in your contract, the facilities put breach fees in our contracts too. So basically, we're passing that money to you. If you are the one who was supposed to perform the contract and you're not doing it, it's unfair to ask the recruiters to pay. So we make sure that you pay for it, but we also make sure that the facility that is making you breach the contract should be in a position to pay it. And everybody in the ecosystem understand this. It's only if you don't say, if you're not transparent, that it may become a problem. liquidated damages, an amount that is determined at the time of contract formation that the breaching party will be required to pay in the event of breach, which is generally based on the estimate of the total amount that will be incurred by the recruiter for the recruitment, credentialing, visa sponsorship. Liquidated damage cannot be a penalty for breach. Okay, so you now know. These liquidated damages are actually damages. Alex, assume right now their costs of translating the license, the Kenyan license to the American license, is about $5,000. If a recruiter or a placement agency pays that money for you and decides that that money will be deducted over a period of 3 years, if you are leaving after 2 months and they ask for that money, it's not a penalty. That's not a penalty. That's cost. That's money that you should just pay up front. So you should, when you're considering breach payment, you should know that the breach fee will include both actual and liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are expenses already incurred by the recruiter or facility, and you owe them. If you had stayed, they will take it from your pay over a long period of time. You won't fail it. But if you are leaving now, they need the cash up front. Okay? Discrimination based on status as a member of a protected class. To be discriminated against on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, including pregnancy, sexual orientation or gender identification, national origin, age, disability, or medical history. No, that's not allowed. So foreign educated health professionals, of course, will be using that informed consent and ethical principle that requires permission to be granted with the knowledge of the possible benefits and the possible consequences. You know that? So that's why we're going through this process slowly, carefully, so that you know the benefits, but you also know the possible consequences. Prevailing wage. The prevailing wage rate is defined by the U.S. Department of Labor as the average wage paid to similarly employed workers in a specific occupation in the area of intended occupation. Okay, that's been long, that's been nice, but looking at this continuously, let's go back to the start. You have knowledge of what is expected of you and what is expected of the other players in the ecosystem. To summarize, we looked at the preamp, we looked at the code context, we looked at the foreign educated health professional rights and responsibilities, we looked at the recruiter and employment accountability, we looked at the freedom from discrimination and retaliation, we looked at the right to know, we look at the right to receive a contract with fair terms and to give informed consent. We look at the right to move freely without coercion. We look at the right to access justice. We looked at the right to freedom of association and collective bargaining. We looked at the right to receive support for clinical and cultural integration. We looked at respect for the sending countries, and we had a look at the grocery. With that, I would like to thank you for taking time to listen to this video. Make sure that you understand the health code. Make sure that you are familiar with the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment practices. Make sure that you can access their website. Make sure you can check who is a certified international recruiter. Make plans and work them. Make sure that you know who you are dealing with and what they believe in. At Northcoast MTC and African Wood Incorporated, we are here looking out for you. Thank you very much.